Coming to you from the Hudson Media Group studio, this is Talking Politics, and I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, Top 100 Latino, via the Latino Spirit Online magazine for 2020, 2021, and now in 2022, and your favorite conservative. Yes, it's me, Fernando Uribe. Hoping you all had a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully you took the time to acknowledge those who gave the ultimate sacrifice for us to live once again in this glorious country that we live in each and every day. Hopefully you're able to party responsibly, spend time with family and friends, and of course enjoy the long weekend overall. As always, folks, there's a lot to discuss, so let's get started. Here's what I'm thinking about right now. And it's a topic that is certainly still very much being debated on social media and even in the mainstream press, and that's about gun violence. And what will it take to implement realistic gun safety, not just in our schools, but overall in the United States. And here's something, folks, that again, as a journalist, certainly I find ways to entertain you and to inform you every single week. But now let me use one of my other hats that I'm able to utilize quite well, and that's sort of be an academic. Let me be that political scientist that I am. Let me be that policy nerd that I take pride in being. So when it comes to addressing gun violence or gun safety of any kind in our schools, I got a simple solution. And this is something that the mainstream press here in New Jersey and nationally, especially the left, and progressives and the liberals and all the woke fools and all these other clowns that I like to sort of ridicule on a weekly basis, don't ever really get. But I'm going to give you some numbers. I'm going to give you some facts about, quite simply, trying to eliminate what happened in Uvalde, Texas, and all the other mass shootings we've seen at schools all around the country, arguably now for decades. Okay, so let's be honest, because when we talk about safety in our institutions, in our buildings, well, don't we guard banks and courthouses with weapons and firearms? Don't we have personnel of some kind guarding these specific institutions? Well, forget about banks. I mean, those are private entities. Let's talk about courthouses. Okay, you go to any courthouse, whether it's a municipal one, a county courthouse, a state one, or a federal one. They're all being protected by those in uniform, whether it's licensed corrections officers, police personnel, or even private security. You're seeing those buildings being guarded by armed personnel, right? So why not implement that in schools? Well, you know what? Some of you might say, well, Fernando, we don't need guns in our schools. We need to have better gun laws. Well, we have them. And folks, here's a news flash for those on the left that continue to sort of go on with their hashtagging and their virtue signaling. A lot of laws aren't being followed by criminals. When they want to do something and they want to enact a specific type of harm on us, they're going to do it. Okay? We've had drug laws in this country for almost half a century. Are we stopping the inflow of drugs from Latin America or from Canada or from overseas? No, we're not stopping the flow of guns either. Okay? But again, more on that later. So for example, me being the academic and the professor that I am, I decided to do a little bit of research this week and look at the total amount of schools in the continental United States. So for example, there are currently over 130,000 public and also private schools in the United States. Now here's a positive prescription that many on the left don't want to talk about, but I just thought of it over a cigar, right? Over Memorial Day weekend. Okay, so if you put 2 officers in each school, now again, you need 2 of them, maybe 3 the most, right? Due to sick, vacation, and training days that'll be necessary. Now, if you compensate them at around maybe $75 to let's say maybe $100,000 per officer, which includes salary and benefits, right? Maybe the starting salary is somewhere in the 60s, 70s, but then again, once you incorporate medical benefits or pensions of any kind, it could round out to about $100K. It would cost $26 billion reasonably, give or take, to protect every school in this country. But what is the president, in his usual cognitive decline, deciding to do, for example? Well, he sees fit to send over $40 billion to Ukraine, right? Somehow Ukrainian borders matter, but not American ones. Folks, you see what I'm saying? Like the priorities of our legislators and even those in the White House are severely misplaced. Look at the solution I just gave you. Okay, I'm gonna give you the numbers again. If you put 2 officers at the minimum in each school in this country, again, public or private, again, we're talking about a little over 130,000 in this country, right? And you compensate them at $100,000 per officer, based on all the variables I just explained to you. Once again, it would cost $26 billion annually to protect our schools in the United States. Is that not an investment worth having? Oh, but never mind. That makes way too much sense for people. But that's what I'm here to do, folks, is to give you commonsensical, rational, and pragmatic policy prescriptions that will solve problems. Okay? It's not about hashtagging. It's not about virtue signaling, because that's what many on the left have been doing, right? Ever since the Uvalde tragedy, the Buffalo tragedy, other school shootings, and everything. And again, my heart goes out to those families. I can't imagine having to bury a young child and not living your child. I can't imagine that grief for a parent. It's agonizing. It's awful. And my condolences and my prayers and my heart goes out to all of you who have been affected by these tragedies. Okay? But this is the problem again with the left, especially the liberal media here in New Jersey and even nationally. You're more concerned with hashtagging and virtue signaling and being all up on your soapbox about policies when you're not even presenting good policy prescriptions. I just did that, okay? So, based on the numbers I'm just talking about here, folks, you can keep your hashtags and your virtue signaling. I'm over here coming up with solutions and coming up with ways to solve problems, okay? I'm coming up with policy prescriptions that make sense. That's what I'm doing over here. So for my colleagues in journalism and in media, we're not the same, because I'm doing, at least proposing something that makes sense. All you're doing, again, is going on Instagram Live or on Twitter or on Facebook or on Snapchat or TikTok and going on again with your virtue signaling and your memes and your hashtags. We're not the same, folks. I'm over here. I'm the adult in the room coming up with policy prescriptions. Are you doing the same? Probably not. And that's what separates conservatives from liberals, ladies and gentlemen, in this argument. But getting back to, once again, gun violence. Listen, no one ever likes to see it, but very much like the inflow of drugs for almost 50 years, the federal government's been quite inept at that. They've been quite inept at enacting gun laws that are going to work. Because at the end of the day, folks, we see it in Chicago. Just go Google it. You know how many people died over Memorial Weekend in Chicago? 46. You know how many people are dying in Chicago every single week? Probably dozens. And by the way, Chicago has perhaps the strictest gun laws of any city in the continental United States. Okay? They have stricter gun laws than here in New Jersey, even arguably across the river in New York City and upstate in New York. But the left won't tell you that. They'd rather virtue signal and racialize these incidents and talk about, we need to be more for children. I'm all for children. I just gave you a policy prescription. Now, for those out there, legislators that watch this show, and I'm sure some do, I just gave you a solution. Run with it. Listen, you don't have to give me credit for it. Don't name the bill after me. Just go and do this for children. It'll protect them. It'll protect our schools. It'll protect staff. It'll protect teachers. And in the end, isn't that what we want when it comes to sending our kids to school? And for teachers going to school, you just want to feel safe. I just made you feel safer, ultimately, with that policy prescription. Follow it or not, I don't know, folks. But that's what I'm here to do every single week, is give you solutions to problems instead of virtue signaling and hashtags, which we all know don't accomplish anything. And that's what I'm thinking about right now. On this week's edition of the 5-time award-winning podcast, Talking the Hudson, which you can listen to live every single week via Blog Talk Radio at www.blogtalkradio.com/talkingthehudson, was real estate developer Jose Rodriguez. We talked for over an hour on a plethora of different issues, and here are some highlights for your consideration. First and foremost, we discuss what are some of the trends right now when it comes to real estate and whether or not it's a buyer's market or a seller's market. Let's hear what he had to say.
Man, the two words, real estate, man, they elicit a lot of different reactions in people, don't they? And right now in this market, Jose, I'll tell you something. Where I live, there was a report on NJ.com recently that a lot of New Jersey has seen pretty much of a sharp decline in home sales. That's not the case in sort of like the opposite end of the state, right here in Hudson County where I live, overlooking New York City, right, and even Southwest Jersey, right near Philadelphia. Let's break that down. What are some of the reasons of these enormous spikes?
Spikes in what exactly? The home sales?
Yes, the home sales and actually the prices. I mean, some of these homes, man, it looks like you have to donate 2 kidneys, never mind 1 kidney.
Yeah, man. So what's happening is that, everybody's looking to purchase a home right now. And the thing is that, again, when the market, when there's not enough supply, or there's supply, but the demand is, is through the roof, then everything is going to go up. And now what we're seeing is with, for example, the interest rates, how they're trying to calibrate, with the market. What they're doing is with the government and everything, the federal interest rate, they're looking to basically balance everything out with the real estate market. That's why it's right now an average of 5.1 to 5.2% on a 30-year loan, a regular mortgage for a property. So what's happening right now with the real estate market is that everybody's looking to buy. However, now there's a shortage of homes because everybody that's looking to buy basically is there's more buyers than there is sellers. So because of that reason, everything that we see on the market today is just flying off the shelf. I mean, I'm taking a buyer out next week, and we've been looking at properties consistently, right? And we've been making offers anywhere from $30,000 to $40,000 over the asking price. And man, even at that point, it's still very, very competitive with any buyers that you take. So I mean, if you're asking me, also as an investor with the housing market and what's happening, I mean, look, there's always going to be good times to buy, bad times to buy, but at the end of the day, the specific kind of investments that I do and that I purchase, which we could get into in a little bit, I would think that it's a great opportunity actually to get into the market today if you can find the right opportunities. But that's really what I have to say on the market in terms of, depending on who's listening, right? If somebody that's listening that is looking to, purchase a home, live in it for 30 years, or live in it for the rest of their life, I mean, if you can hold on a little bit, I would say definitely because, within the next 2 to 3 years, in my opinion, 2 to 3 years, the market is expected to go down and things are expected to cool off a little bit. More foreclosures, more short sales. That's what I'm looking at within the next 2 to 3 years. So if you can hold on, I would say hold on. However, if you're definitely looking to buy, you want to buy, and it is what it is, and you're okay with the decision that you're making, just understand that the prices where they're at now, obviously depending on the specific location that you're in, the houses are definitely not going to be at the peak for long, is what I can say for sure.
Secondly, we talked about this fascination that many in the United States have with flipping homes. Yes, it's very glamorous and it can be very costly. And despite what you watch on reality TV, it's not always as easy as it appears. Mr. Rodriguez talked about the realities as it pertains to flipping homes and, quite frankly, how it can be quite the laborious process. Let's hear what he had to say about it.
It's a fascinating concept because I think what we've seen with either pop culture or what we've seen, especially with social media, some of these shows that we've been preconditioned to watch, whether it's on Bravo, Discovery, TLC, pick your pick, it's either celebrities doing it or regular everyday people that are engaging in flipping homes. And I would just argue, based on what I'm seeing, and also what I've read too on the side, this is, listen, if you don't have the capital to do this, this may not be a good venture for someone to just jump into. I think I would argue, again, as an outsider like myself, I mean, there's a few variables I think you have to meet on this checklist if this is something you want to pursue. Because I get it. There are those people that flip homes for a living, and it's profitable, and it is something that's lucrative. But you gotta, I would argue, or at least I suspect, you have to go into this with a little liquid, as they say, because if you don't, you could put yourself into a really deep hole real quick.
Yeah. It all depends on what risk you're willing to take, and again, what resources you have available to you. So I'll go ahead and quickly communicate my story of how I got into flipping and how it's been for me, right? So I was, again, very young. I was 18, 19, just started in the real estate business. However, I was very, very committed. I had time at the job that I worked at. I was a surveyor. However, when I was in the office, I would be, drafting the jobs and doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But I would have my earbuds in, and I would be listening to content, educating myself, listening to audiobooks, just really dialing in to understand real estate. Really understanding what my way into this field is, because I particularly didn't have a lot of money getting into the business, right? However, I knew that it was possible because other people have done it, right? Now, it all depends. Yes, if you have money, it'll definitely be way easier for you to tap into, to the real estate flipping side of things. However, there are ways that you can go about it where, and obviously it's a different market today, which I want to talk on in a little bit, but there are so many ways that you can get into real estate with low money down and not a lot of money. And it's based on, what what deals you have available to you. Right, we can even talk about, like, for example, wholesaling. Right, I'm not gonna. There's so many things that I can talk about. Like, this opens up so many different things in my mind. But for example, like what I was saying, for me, when I first started, I was young, 19, and I was looking for properties. Every single day, analyzing properties, and I finally found a flip that was going to be suitable for what we were looking for. And surprisingly, it was on the market. Right, nowadays, it's going to be very, 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 very tough to find anything on the market because it's just very, very inflated. Everybody's looking for deals. Everybody's an investor these days. So the way that I go about things now is just off market, seeing who I know, word of mouth, getting my ads out there, cold calling, things of that nature.
It was a very illuminating and informative conversation with real estate developer Jose Rodriguez. You can listen to the episode once again by going to www.blogtalkradio.com/talkingtohudson. That episode is available there in its entirety, as well as all my previous episodes that I've had since the podcast started in March of 2017. You can download the episode and listen to it from anywhere and any time, from any PC, Mac, smartphone, or tablet. And these exclusives I'll bring you every single week on Blog Talk Radio. Now, some local stories for your consideration. And a shout out to Josh Bakan from Hoboken Patch with this very interesting story where he asked a basic question: can you smoke legal weed on Jersey Shore beaches? Well, with recreational cannabis now being legal in the Garden State, what does that mean as it pertains to whether or not you can smoke it anywhere? Well, the truth is you can't. And here are some details that really should shed light on this very, very interesting topic. So even before legalization of weed transpired in New Jersey, the Jersey Shore residents and visitors alike would occasionally smell a skunk-like scent on the beach. Now, while the state now allows adults 21 and over to consume recreational cannabis, smoking it at the beaches does indeed remain prohibited. Now, here's what to know about weed and the beach as summer gets underway along the Jersey Shore. Here's a question to ask: is it legal to smoke recreational weed on New Jersey beaches? And the answer is no. 4 years ago, the state updated the New Jersey Smoke-Free Air Act of 2006. The updated law prohibits smoking at public beaches and parks around the state of any kind. The law also prohibits the use of electronic smoking devices such as vapes and e-cigarettes at beaches and state parks. Another question, for example, is what about medical cannabis? Well, patients in the New Jersey Medical Marijuana Program can smoke in public, but the Smoke-Free Air Act prohibits smoking of any kind in most public spaces, according to the State Cannabis Regulatory Commission. Now, is it okay to bring cannabis with you to the beach? Now, medical patients may carry and keep their cannabis with them, while people 21 and older can carry recreational weed as well, but they can't consume it on the premises. You can also have a very limited amount with you. Possessing more than 6 ounces of cannabis is a fourth-degree crime in New Jersey, which is ultimately punishable by imprisonment by 18 months and a fine of up to $25,000. Now, big question to ask is, will there be exceptions, even with updates to the Smoke-Free Air Act? For example, Sandy Hook has tighter regulations than most of New Jersey, as it is federal property. Marijuana possession remains a federal offense, and that applies to all federal lands. So what about other shore spots, such as hotels, rentals, casinos, or even my own vehicle? Well, some hotels may allow cannabis use in their room, but that requires permission. Hotels and motels can allow smoking or vaping weed in up to 20% of their rooms at the owner's discretion. Folks, it's something that I'm sure will generate a lot of debate. Now, as someone who's never smoked marijuana, doesn't care to, and will never smoke marijuana because it just isn't my thing, and I don't judge you if you want to do that, God bless you. But folks, again, I'm all about going to the beach, and I'm not much of a beach person, to be honest with you. Sometimes it's a pain in the neck to drive down the shore, enjoy the traffic, come back, your car gets full of sand, your clothes get full of sand, umbrellas, backpacks, whatever. Might be a little bit of a nuisance. But when I want to go to the beach, the last thing I need to smell is cigarettes, which thankfully the 2006 law prohibited that. But also, you know what? I don't need to smell weed either. And I understand that some people, again, because of medical conditions, might need to, but come on, folks. If you're going to the beach and you need to consume medical marijuana, then do me a favor, stay home. I'm not trying to be mean-spirited, but I just want to go to the beach, enjoy it, and not have to deal with smoke of any kind. Now, am I the type of person that tries to smuggle liquor onto beaches and have a drink? Of course, because some of these prices at some of these bars along the Jersey Shore can be ridiculous. But again, let me get back to marijuana. I just want to be able to enjoy the beach, get a little bit of sun, enjoy some of the breeze that comes off the Atlantic Ocean without having to endure considerable marijuana smells. If I want to do that, I would just take a bus on Boulevard East and go to the Port Authority and just endure all the smell of urine and marijuana that's pervasive all around the Port Authority building on 8th Avenue in New York City, right along 42nd Street. So again, for those of you that are looking to go to the beach, take a toke, smoke, do whatever you need to do beforehand. Don't drive, obviously. I don't want to encourage anyone to engage in impaired driving. But by the same token, if you have to smoke weed, do it before you go to the beach, okay? Let the rest of us enjoy a little bit of the summer weather without any smoke of any kind on our public beaches and, of course, in our state parks. Now, folks, happy June to you all. And, of course, I know that June takes on different meanings to different people. As far as I'm concerned, when I think of the month of June, I think of it as the month of the Sacred Heart. Now, again, as May, for many of us who grew up Catholic or Christians, May was indeed the month of Mary, our Blessed Mother, and June is the month of the Sacred Heart, right, of Jesus Christ. So one of the things that I take considerable pride in is being a Christian. Now, I'm not one of those rah-rah, Bible-thumping, throw religion in your face type of Catholics and or Christians. Yes, I was raised Catholic like many other Hispanics are, since Catholicism is sort of the prevalent religion of practice within, again, Latin America. Obviously, my mom being Cuban, my dad being Colombian, I grew up with Catholicism for as young as I can remember. As I grew older, certainly I became very cynical of the Catholic Church and became very, opposed to a lot of what the Catholic Church represents. Doesn't mean that my belief or my devotion to Christ, was lost somewhere. Of course not. I still pray every day. I may not go to Mass every Sunday because I just don't have time. Again, being New Jersey's premier journalist, journalism never sleeps, so I'm always busy. But I find it, at least possible for me to visit St. Augustine's Church in Union City or any other churches that I can find that are open to go in, to sit, to worship by myself in an empty church, to speak to Christ, and to be thankful for everything that I have. Believe me, folks, I am as blessed as they come, and I am extremely grateful for that every single day. I've never lost sight of it. So for me, when I think of June, I think of, again, the month of the Sacred Heart, and I think about Jesus Christ. That, again, it doesn't make me intolerant. It doesn't make me, a blankphobe of any kind, or a homophobe, or a transphobe, or a bigot of any kind. No, it's just stuff that, I'll be very honest with you, doesn't really concern me and doesn't interest me. Again, folks, we can, let's not conflate intolerance with indifference, because people might say, well, you're just intolerant for now because you're not celebrating what other things represent the month of June, right? Well, that's just not me. Again, it doesn't make me hateful. It doesn't make me malicious or mean-spirited. I'm just prioritizing what I'm choosing to celebrate. Okay? It's the same thing with other sort of commemorations throughout the year. Right? We have other months that commemorate this month and that month. I'll be very honest. I'm a little territorial. When it comes to mid-September into mid-October, yeah, that's Hispanic Heritage Month. Yeah, that matters to me because I'm Hispanic. So, yeah, during the fall season, that's the month that I really care about the most. As far as the other months of the year, yeah, they're important, but I just don't really care about them. Sorry, that's just the way I feel. And I'm sure many other people will tell you the same thing. I mean, I'm sure this is stuff we talk about at our kitchen tables, stuff we talk around, the backyard during a barbecue. I'm just brave enough to say it openly and not to sort of hide behind a microphone. So, again, to all of those Christians and Catholics out there, all those that love Jesus Christ and believe in Jesus Christ like I do, hey, happy month of the Sacred Heart, which, again, we commemorate the Sacred Heart of Jesus Christ. So I'm happy about that, and I'm grateful for everything he gives me, and many of you at home, hopefully, should be too. And now let's move to the Peninsula city of Bayonne, and a special thank you to Dan Israel for his report on this story, again, via the Hudson Reporter. Here's a retrospective on the recent Bayonne municipal election that took place last month. Now, again, the vote has been certified by county and city officials, and really, post-election, hindsight is always 20/20. Now, indeed, the dust has settled on the Peninsula city, and the future of Bayonne has been decided for the next 4 years. Incumbent Mayor Jimmy Davis and his entire council slate secured a clean sweep victory in the 2022 nonpartisan municipal election, thus avoiding a runoff election subsequently this month. Now, Davis declared victory on election night, which was May the 10th. However, the initial election results were close enough to the point where the election could go to a runoff that his main opponent, City Council President Sharon Nadrowski at the time, held off on conceding until every vote was counted. Now, the runoff indeed was avoided by a slim margin. In order for a runoff to have happened in Bayonne, Davis would have had needed to get less than 50% of the vote plus one. On election night, he was sitting at 50.81% of the vote to Nadrowski's 42.67%. After provisional ballots were counted on Tuesday, May 17th, Davis was certified as the winner of the election by the Hudson County Board of Elections. And on May 18th, Nadrowski conceded, noting she would remain active in the community. Well, folks, again, it was a razor-thin margin, and certainly congratulations to Mayor Davis and his entire council slate. But this should be a lesson to anybody running campaigns. And again, I've interviewed Sharon Nadrowski. She's a nice lady, certainly is someone that's going to remain very visible in the Peninsula city because she cares about her community and she cares about the city that she lives in. Let's be fair, folks. This was an atrocious campaign, okay? And as someone who, again, as an educator, part of my job description is to grade people and grade assignments. Well, I'm going to grade this campaign, and I would give it unequivocally an F. This campaign started way too late. It started right after Valentine's Day, if I'm not mistaken, this year. If you're running for mayor, ladies and gentlemen, especially in a large city like Bayonne, you need to start running the previous year, right after Labor Day, even before Christmas. That wasn't happening. Sharon was still scrambling to find council candidates. That's not the way to run a campaign. And I get it that people like Joe DeMarco and others, thankfully, will be out of politics in Hudson County once and for all with this loss. But this should be a lesson for everybody. If you're going to run for office, start a good ground game, mobilize, knock on doors early. Don't do it 2 or 3 months before an election. You need to do it at least 6 months, if not a year out, if you're serious about winning any type of office. And I hope Sharon learned from this campaign because, you know what? It wasn't very pretty. And I get it that she still came within a razor margin of a runoff, but that's something to be proud of. You're in it to win it. And in this case, Sharon wasn't in it to win it from the start, and it showed with a very sloppy campaign. That's our show for this week. To check out all the excellent programming brought to you once again by the Hudson Media Group, check out their websites, www.hmgtvshows.com, as well as www.livestream.com/hmgtv, and also YouTube. Hudson Media Group is available there as well. Make sure you like the Hudson Media Group on Facebook and also follow them on both Instagram and Twitter. You can also check out all my episodes of the 5-time award-winning podcast, Talking the Hudson, by going to www.blogtalkradio.com/talkingthehudson. Don't forget to follow the podcast on Instagram at Talk on the Hudson, as well as yours truly on Instagram as well, at The Amazing Professor. And also follow me on Twitter at NoFilterUribe. That's at NoFilter, URIBE. Make sure you like Talking the Hudson on Facebook, and also like Talking Politics with Fernando Uribe on Facebook as well. And always remember, folks, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it's always Talking Politics right here with the Hudson Media Group. I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, top 100 Latino, and of course, your favorite conservative, Fernando Uribe, saying so long, and thank you so much for watching.